Hey, what is up, everyone? It is Rich. All right, welcome to Beyond the Page. All right, this is an interesting one. So, this is not a piece that I inked, but it's a piece that I own. This is an Aron Wiesenfeld Team 7 page with inks by, I'm going to say JD. It's issue 4. Yeah, it's probably JD. They didn't sign it, so it's hard to say. I mean, I could obviously check the comic. I'm nearly sure it's JD. So I purchased this, geez, probably in like 1996, maybe 95. I started collecting art kind of right after I broke in. I didn't have a budget for it, to be honest. I was just an intern at Wildstorm, or maybe slowly moving into my first gigs. But I'll talk a little bit about original art because so when I got to Wildstorm, I literally had only been really collecting comic books and drawing for about 16 months, maybe a tiny bit longer, but not much. But I'd been decent at art my whole life, to be clear. So it wasn't like I never had done art, but I was a musician. But anyway, so I got to Wildstorm. I was hired. I honestly had no idea that people sold original art. In fact, I didn't even know what they did with the original art. It was just something that never occurred to me. So Scott Doombeer, who is the guy that really was the brainchild behind the artist editions, was hired at Wildstorm right around the same time as me. Honestly, we kind of, he thinks he got there before I did. I remember when he showed up, so I don't know. I think I'm right, but he swears he was there before me. But maybe he had got hired before me, but hadn't really set up camp. But anyway, so I went into Scott's office one day and he was an art dealer, and they had created this thing called Wildstorm Fine Arts. But it wasn't just Scott had already been an art dealer, so he brought in all this stuff, and I'm looking through art, and I'm like, I've seen this comic book, not this piece, but like he had oh man, the John J. Muth, Kent Williams, Wolverine, like those painted pages, and he had just so much good stuff, and I remember he had Carlos Pacheco pages, and it was like my favorite comic book at the time with Cam Smith inks, and I was so excited. And the stuff was for sale, and I couldn't believe that I could actually purchase art from comic books that I loved. It was just completely surreal. And so as I kind of got excited about it, I bought a couple of fairly inexpensive Carlos Pacheco pages, and then one that was quite a bit more, especially for the time. I spent I think $400-500 on it, not all at once. I would usually kind of chip away at things where I put it on hold and pay it off over a few months. But anyway, so I was a huge Aaron Wiesenfeld fan. In fact, I mean, people I think probably go, oh, like, Travis is Rich's number one guy, which probably is accurate, but Aron Wiesenfeld is very high up the list for me, and in particular back then. I mean, I just had never seen anything like this. He was very different for a lot of the Wildstorm, from a lot of the Wildstorm pencilers. There was, I don't know, like, Team 7 number 1 is very different than Team 7 number 2, 3, and 4. There was a maturity to his work that I wasn't seeing in other 21-year-olds or 22-year-olds. And anyway, Scott started getting pages of Aaron's work. Now, I don't remember if Aaron was selling it or if JD was selling it, but either way. And so I just started scooping up Aron Wiesenfeld stuff, and I bought quite a few at the time. And so it's always been, something that I enjoy. And we're going to talk a little bit about this page. I have a companion piece to this that I actually saw online. It just happened to be in the folder that I was looking for. I don't own the other piece, but I'm going to point out something really interesting. So this is the first page of like a 3 or 4 page sequence, and it's Deathblow being brought through the body of probably like an aircraft carrier ship of some sort. And so there's this highly detailed background that Aron did here. But the whole sequence takes place in this hallway, and it's Deathblow basically like breaking away and kind of fighting these guys. So Aron did a really interesting thing, which is after this piece, he still needed to draw this background 3 or 4 times. And what he did is he actually created a whole stat of the hallway. Now I don't know if what order he did it in, but this is actually all drawn on the original. So all the background that you see here is actually intact. Now I actually own just the background with no characters in it. And part of it is a stat, meaning that like the parts that were drawn here are all from this particular page, and then he drew in more of the detail, like through here, through Death Blow, finished the hallway and all that. And so I own that too. I didn't scan it because it wasn't something that at the time I was considering selling. I mean, like it would, if I ever sold it, it would just go with this page. But anyway, I wanted to show you this other page, and you can see what the other, this is not a high-res scan of it, but this is from the same sequence, and you can see that there's literally no background in it. A beautiful, beautiful page, though. This is a real winner. I would have definitely have bought this if at the time it was available for sale, but I don't remember it ever being there. I'm nearly sure I grabbed every Aron page that popped up at that time. He and Travis were just hands down. I thought that they were just geniuses, and you know, I went for it as best as I could within my budget at the time. But this is great. I mean, you can really see kind of that Jorge Savino, Frank Miller, Barry Windsor Smith. I mean, Aron really was like a blender. Neil Adams. Aron came up through Continuity in New York. He went to Cooper Union Art School, and then was hired by Continuity probably in like 1989, 90, somewhere around then. I could be slightly off with that. Maybe it was 91. He and Richard Bennett, though, both worked for Continuity under Neil Adams, which is pretty incredible. But yeah, so anyway, but you know, you've got this just gorgeous. I mean, Aron was one of those guys where he really showed you that he knew perspective, and I know when I'm saying that is kind of like a going back to what I thought perspective really meant at the time, which was drawing objects in perspective. But you start to realize that everything is in perspective. Figures, you know, everything that exists in a drawing is in theory in perspective. But when we're learning, you know, we think it's buildings and stuff like this. But so I was very impressed by Aron's perspective. He can draw whatever these things are, release valves in perspective. Pipes and floors, and I mean shit like this floor just looks so cool. And you know, I'm sure that like if you're another penciler at Wildstorm and someone's turning in stuff like this, I don't know how this wouldn't kick you in the ass, because it's like you're like, man, this dude is gonna make me look like a slacker. So Aron does these really, really incredible, like very detailed faces. I mean, sometimes, I mean, I think his aesthetic in terms of like, are his characters handsome or not, could be up for debate depending on your sort of sense of cool. But that's where I think you kind of get into the Barry Windsor Smith sort of terrain with his work, where it's like Barry's characters have very fishy mouths, like they have very like wide mouths, and their eyes are kind of big, and they're all sort of characteristics that you can see a little bit in here. But there's such a ferocity to the way that Aron draws that I think it overweighs it. And boy, I'll tell you, I love issue 3 and 4 of Team 7. Number 1 was always my favorite, like way back. But when I go back and look at it now, as much as I love it, I mean, the level of maturity that he experienced between issues 2, 3, and 4 is really, really incredible. And it's probably some of my favorite stuff, comic book stuff that he ever did. So anyway, I hope that was fun. We went beyond the page. I do try to focus on sequential pages, as tempting as it is to do covers and stuff like that. I think we get bombarded by cover art and that thing so much. Granted, this is a splash page, but I really do think it's important for us to look at what goes on inside the book. So I will do covers throughout this series, but you know, I really do think it's important to enjoy what goes on inside the book. And this is so good. This character in particular right here is grayscale. I'll just change it RGB for a sec. Not that. This right here, I don't know what it is about that, but man, that looks great. And Deathblow pulling right here. I mean, he's got these powerful hands that he draws. I mean, everything is just like flexed, and man, look at like the muscle right here. That's so good. So cool. So, all right, you guys have a great day. We went beyond the page, far beyond the page. So, I will talk to you Sunday. Here's the deal, though. I saw this on the news last night. Where Kelsey lives is going to get pounded by a hurricane on Sunday, rolling in at like 8 a.m. is what they predict right now. So I haven't really talked to Kelsey this week. I'm assuming he did the Jack show last night, but there is a chance that we might skip this week. But I'll still be back next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, probably with more beyond the pages, and then we can do a super fun Sunday the following weekend. But I'll reach out to Kelsey today and see what he thinks. But there's a high likelihood that he's going to be batting down the hatches. Who knows though? But we'll see. We'll play it by ear. But just I want to give people a warning that there is a chance because of the hurricane that he might not be available. I'm not going to do another solo one this weekend because I should be working if not. So all right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.